Let's chat about peer evaluation and how to make this work in Brightspace. Let's look at Professor Sherman. She's got a great class, but she's been collecting a lot of papers recently, and she's wondering how I'm going to correct all of this. Why not engage her students in peer evaluation? They can assess themselves. This way, it enriches their learning experience, plus it helps out Professor Sherman. Wonderful. Here are 6 steps to make this happen in Brightspace with the aid of ePortfolio. Step 1, set up sharing groups. So here I want to define how students will be grouped for this peer evaluation activity. So from within your course in Brightspace, select the sharing group option, and now we'll create that sharing group. So name the sharing group. Then we'll want to activate the sharing group by automatically sharing items within the group. In this case, we'll select only collections. The other items don't need to be shared. And we'll assign a tag, which is very important. This has to be unique within the environment, and this will be the enabler for sharing those collections to the different peer groups. We'll save this, then move to adding users to the share group. So you can search for users on last name or on student number. Here we'll also modify the permissions, making sure that students only can add comments and add assessments to their peers. They cannot see how other students have assessed this peer. This is where we can adjust the permissions and we can add our users to our group. Step 2, create or select a rubric. So here I want to specify the assessment tool to be used by students to evaluate their peers. So once again, in the learning environment as the instructor, I'll go into the rubrics tool. From there, I can either create a rubric, brand new rubric, or see and select rubrics that are already existing. So in this case, we'll view the properties of an existing rubric. One thing that's really important is to make sure that that rubric will be available in ePortfolio. And at the same time, we can kind of view the rubric to make sure that it's the rubric we want to use with our students. So here we can see the different levels and criterions that will be used by students in their assessment of their peers. Step 3, set up the collections in EP. So this will be the main item that student will use to deposit their essays and then peer assess their fellow colleagues. So here, as an instructor in my portfolio, I'll create a collection per peer group. So for example, here I create my collection for peer group 3. And I must assign the same tag I assigned my sharing group. There we go. And I can save this collection. My next step is to assign the rubric that's in my course, so right here, my writing rubric, to the collection. And then what I can do is push this collection, create a copy of this collection to the different members of my sharing group. So this will create a specific collection for each student within my peer group. Step 4, now it's the students' turn to work. So students will have to deposit their essay within their collection in their individual portfolios. So here we're in the student's portfolio, and the student is uploading to portfolio the essay into his collection so that other students will be able to access his work to do their peer assessment bit. So upload the file, make sure you add the file to portfolio. After we've saved the file to portfolio, there's a very important step that remains, which is insert that file within the collection. So from the portfolio homepage, I can add this file to my collection so that it'll be available to my peers. Step 5, this is where we kind of see the portfolio kind of in action. So here students can go within the Explore tab of their portfolio to see all of the other students of their groups work. So here student A accesses the work of student B. looks at the work in Word, and then he can assess that work through the rubric. So he'll click on Add Assessment, and Add Assessment will pop up a screen in which he has access to the rubric. From here, the student can select the different levels for the different criterions for his peer. He'll save that rubric, and that will now be made available to the original student. Step 5. So here we're looking once again in step 5 at the student view. So now that student have assessed their peers, how is the original student going to see this? So here you go. The original student can go in portfolio and he'll see all of his peers' rubrics filled in individually. So it'll give him a rich experience of how each other has assessed him. Step 6, this is where we want to collect grades and view the data for the group activities. So the instructor in Edit Course can go back to the rubrics tool, find that original rubric, and from here can view statistics. And in the portfolio tab, he'll see each item in portfolio. So here, for example, here's the collection for Frank Catcher. He's been assessed 7 times by his peers. He's got an average grade, and then I can go into detail and see. So 7 students have assessed him as exemplementary. And once again, here I can see the detail of each of these grade items. So there it is. Peer evaluation in Portfolio and Brightspace. Easy, flexible, and smart.